table. Scene 1, take 4.
In hops we trust.
In this episode, we're visiting the Flounder Brewing Company twice. During a time when people were still wearing masks, we first met up with the Flounder Boys in their original 2013 brewery, a small industrial park garage in Hillsborough, New Jersey. That's where we talked about their humble beginnings, their beer, and how they know this guy. Then, in 2021, they moved to Carriage Farm, where they're brewing and serving beers in 2 renovated 250-year-old barns. So we had to come back and check out the new digs, and, in true In Hops We Trust fashion, play a beer game.
Hey!
At Flounder, it's all about the experience, having a great time with great people, and with great Flounder craft beer.
Sitting down here at Flounder Brewing with me today are Jeremy Flounder Lees and Doug Duschl. How are we today, gentlemen?
Very good. Yourself?
Excellent. By the way, where does the nickname Flounder come from? You just a big Animal House fan or what?
I do really like Animal House. And on my 21st birthday, my friends took me to a great biker bar up in Little Falls called the Great Notch Inn. And Rich, the owner, dubbed me Flounder that night, saying I looked like Flounder from Animal House. And it just, boom, stuck. People to this day at that bar still may not know my real name. They just know me as Flounder.
How did you get into this business?
I started home brewing around 2004, 2005 in my apartment in Morristown. And my brothers would come over every Friday to brew with me. And my apartment quickly turned into like a warehouse of beer. Always having been an entrepreneurial guy, saying like, you know, I want to start a brewery. This is what I want to do with my life. We bought a bigger glorified homebrew system called a Sabco that would brew 10 gallons at a time, and set it up in my grandma's garage in Lyndhurst. And she loved it because she thought it was her grandsons playing together, yet we were making beer. And she was a Ukrainian babushka grandma looking out the kitchen window.
It's not quite cowboys and Indians anymore, but it's
making
the
beer.
Same idea.
And by then my cousin Billy joined us, who later one of my brothers, Dan, and my cousin Billy became the owners of Flounder Brewing Company, where we first opened in 2013 as a very, very tiny brewery.
Tell me about the People's Choice Award winners trophies.
One of the first things we did when we had commercial beer to sell and we were licensed was the Morristown Big Beer Brew Fest. And for 3 times in a row, we had won the People's Choice. It was at a time when there weren't a lot of breweries opening up, so there was so much excitement about hearing that one brewery was opening. Because we got those and we did that festival right after Bolero Snort had gotten their legs for distribution.
Really?
Love Bob, love Scott.
You dethroned the bull.
We dethroned the bull. What's exciting now is you go to even a local festival, and now you see that the majority of the festival is independently owned New Jersey breweries. Is just fantastic.
So let's talk about your flagships right here.
Hill Street Honey was one of my early homebrew recipes. My grandfather, he was a beekeeper.
You get stung a lot as a kid?
No, I was scared. So I was like way back. Well, he had no beat suit or anything. Ukrainian dude who barely spoke English, so he just kind of like scoff at like the 5-year-old who didn't want to get stung. But it's called Hill Street because Hill Street is where I lived in Morristown when I first started homebrewing. I wanted to make a beer with honey that you can taste the notes of honey. We also want all of our beers to kind of have their own personality. So we created a New England IPA recipe that we ended up calling Fred.
Why is it called Fred?
One of our regulars who everybody loves coming to visit is Fred Lewis. Yeah. And Fred's got a personality of his own that everybody loves.
Oh, yeah, he does.
And we decided to dedicate the beer after him because he really is just a great guy. And then the third flagship was more of Doug's beginnings and Doug's preferences, and that's our Lunatic Belgian Golden Ale. It was based off of Lunacy from Heavyweight Brewing.
I went to the brew pub and I said to Tom, I said, you know, I really loved Lunacy when he used to make that. I said, you know, do you remember what was in it? And he just walks over to his recipe book from Heavyweight, pulls it out, and just gives it to me. And so today, I make it with the same malt he used, same everything.
So you've incorporated your family, you've incorporated your customers, you've incorporated your history.
Our tagline is experience your beer. 2 of them completely represent humble beginnings. But then the other one also became a culmination and represents how important the customers are to us and the experience of the customer to us and how the customer base for Flounder Brewing is part of what created what Flounder Brewing is.
I want to talk about your relationship with Sam Adams.
We applied for a program that Sam Adams still offers today called Brew the American Dream. It's a micro-lending program for small businesses in the food and beverage industry. We were one of the first startup breweries to get funded by this program in 2012. And then what led to more with Sam Adams later is because we were a brewery that received money under this microloan program, we could apply for a program called the Sam Adams Experience-ship, which they picked one brewer a year to come up and open their doors to Boston beer and say, we want to teach you stuff. What do you want to learn? We did sensory analysis. We did legal stuff. We did distribution. And then eventually a 2-hour meeting with Jim Cook. And then we got to brew a collaboration beer with them. Devil's Nectar, which is a cranberry honey Helles that I partially did the recipe for. Then Sam Adams finished it up.
You guys are a small batch brewery in New Jersey. They're a conglomerate in Boston.
I mean, in that comparison right there, it's obvious that they are not the slightest bit worried about us as competition.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
But I do think it pays homage to the whole craft beer scene to begin with, that one of the biggest in the craft beer realm sees all of us as an asset to craft beer. And a business like ours would have never even gotten started without the help that they gave us.
Oh boy.
Hey, the In Hops We Trust app is the best way to follow all things In Hops related. On the app, you'll find the In Hops passport, rewards, crew info, updates on where we'll be for events, or where we might be filming next. The app is also the only place you'll be able to see certain content, like pre-release episode teasers or behind-the-scenes footage and exclusive content from event appearances. Our app is available on both iOS and Android devices, so please, go download it while I grab another beer. Oh, cheers. Hey, give me a tall boy.
As you can tell by the length of the fro, it's been a while since we've sat down with the Flounder boys. But thankfully, due to the magic of filmmaking, in this episode that you're currently watching, the transition will feel like just a second. Last time we were here, the building was basically just the shell of itself. Tell us, what has the transition been like from your original space where we started this episode to now?
It was an interesting journey. This was a 2.5-year project, but since we were there last during COVID, during restrictions, while trying to build out here, and it was a little bit of a struggle to get to the finish line. But once we got here, the construction was done, then just the floodgates opened. It's been a great transition and a lot of fun. What we always liked about this site to begin with was that we're actually in the middle of Hillsborough. This area called Carriage Farm is just this beautiful little quiet farm. They had these barns that just, when I first walked into them, absolutely loved them. So this tasting room barn is a 250-year-old Dutch barn. We have the second barn, which is actually about a 150-year-old English style barn, and that we call the brewery barn. That's where our 15-barrel brew house now sits.
There's a distillery going in right next door, and then you guys have the carriage house.
Yeah, so Carriage Farm is
Carriage
all
Farm.
mixed-use office buildings. We really wanted to keep the aesthetics. We wanted to create a really cool niche spot.
Some people walk into a horse barn, they see nothing but horse shit.
Yeah.
Jeremy walks into a horse barn, he sees solid gold.
To add to that, wife at one point, she was kind of getting like a little teary-eyed. She's like, did you ever think like this is what it would look like? We finally have the big brewery we've always dreamed of and stuff. I'm like, this is it was what it looked up in my head, you know? It is the vision that we had for it. The outpouring of support for it has far surpassed what we expected.
Doug, it's a pleasure as always.
Yeah, good to see you.
Now that your size has multiplied 5 times over, the freedom of experimentation like?
It depends. Jeremy's been better. He used to be a real pain in the ass about that. You know, I want to do, oh no, you know, we need this, we need that. But we brought over our 3-barrel system from the old place. So it does allow us a little bit more leeway to throw something in there as 3 barrels and instead of, 15, 20 barrel. I really want to make my mushroom beer again. Everybody loves that.
Yeah, of course.
Grilled onion rye, but, make it taste like, dark pumpernickel bread.
Yeah, you know why? It's because you're a fun guy.
Exactly.
What are some of the other beers that you have right now that were just a blast to make and even more fun to drink?
Okay, well, let's talk about number 18, that's Almost Persuaded. So I mash in, I'm supposed to be making Hill Street honey. My temperature is a little low. Turn the steam on to raise up the temperature and walk away for a couple of minutes, come back, it's 184 degrees. Boiling around the edges. I shut everything off. I was so disgusted. And it actually came out really well. It's a big seller, so it's basically just a pale ale now. It's called Almost Persuaded because we were almost persuaded to dump it.
I like that.
That's the inaugural beer on this system.
That's awesome. We at In Hops We Trust really just like to put on a good show. And one of the best ways that we feel we can do that is to watch people who work in breweries just go head to head in an all-out melee in a little segment we like to call the Beer Gaming League. Welcome to the Titanium Man Tournament. It's a lot of alliteration. Where we're pitting Jeremy, the owner of Flounder Brewing, against Doug, the head brewer at Flounder Brewing. Jeremy has conceded first shots to Doug. Age before beauty, I guess. And I'll be asking you some general brewery questions and whatnot as you play. There you go. Okay, he's got a second shot. Yep. And we're underway. While Jeremy is shooting, I have to ask you this. How does it feel knowing that you now have more people? Oh, first make. So yes, now you take a sip. Loser, of course, does have to finish whatever's left of the other person's beer as well as the rest of this pitcher. So don't lose. What has it been like knowing that now you have so many more people that can enjoy your space?
It's one of the most rewarding parts of it. It definitely is. When you see people enjoying the beer, enjoying the space and the experiences that we do provide here, that's the reward for it in the end. It's why we all do it.
In a perfect world, Doug, what would you like to put in your beer?
I don't know. I do a lot of weird shit. So Rogue did the beer with the yeast from his beard. I mean, it's fermented out, so it's not like it's that big of a deal.
The way this game's going so far, though, is I hope you have a lot of questions.
I got a whole list.
Oh, I'm sorry. I knew you were there the whole time. I was just keeping you waiting. If you're watching this and you say to yourself, hey there, Chester, that's a fancy looking hat you got on there. Well, I'll tell you, Lester, this hat right here, as well as many other items, can all be yours. All you have to do is visit inhopswetrustfilm.com. That's inhopswetrustfilm.com to find all our merchandise. Sweatshirts, t-shirts, beanies, coffee mugs, and pictures. So if you're in the mood for some awesome in-house merchandise, make sure you're going to inhopswetrustfilm.com.
Obviously, your nickname is Flounder.
That it is.
And in the great Delta Tau Chi tradition, I would like you to bestow upon me a Delta Tau Chi name.
Well, this will be in the reverse since I'm Flounder, so I would bestow on you Bluto.
Bluto, why?
I watch In Hops We Trust, and you do get around to a lot of breweries, and you do enjoy drinking your beers at the breweries. I think Bluto fits perfectly well.
I think that works too. This is a first for In Hops We Trust. We're gonna do a segment inside of a segment, because we're gonna jump to Ralph's quick-fire questions. Hey, all right.
So I'll take that re-rack.
Jeremy's off to a commanding lead. What would you do if you could possess the abilities of a dog for 24 hours? What would you do?
Sleep.
I would lick my balls.
See, I
figured Doug would.
That's a natural answer. Natural. Hey! All right. We got a game! Ooh, almost had that double.
All mine are rim shots.
Almost had boom. All right, things are heating up here in the beer pong or Beirut game between Jeremy and Doug. How do you two think the world would be different if there were no bananas?
I mean, Chiquita wouldn't be in business. I know that.
Wow, drink for you.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's all right. I'll make sure you guys get liquored up. If you were in a room with a clone of yourself and $2 million, what do you do?
Kill the clone, take the $2 million.
I think that's really the only thing you can do, unless you're okay with 1 million. And then, of course, you run the risk of the clone killing you. Wow, good shot.
He'd probably be glitching.
That does count.
As what? As he got it
As a
in?
make, yeah.
That's a load of shit.
If you could have any superpower, what superpower would you want?
Flight.
Flight.
I agree. Yeah, flight.
I think how fast you get around. The man is on fire. Can he end the game right here, right now? This is huge.
Oh, no.
No, we can't. If you were a beer, who would you want to drink you?
Elvis.
Elvis, why?
I love Elvis.
There's a list of people who I'd want to have a beer with.
Oh, that's easy.
Elvis is also on that list for me.
So you would share a beer with Elvis, turn into a beer, and then Elvis would finish you off. That's what some might call a happy
I
ending.
mean, that could be on my tombstone. That's fine with me.
Jared, whenever you're ready, we're waiting. Who would you want to drink
Who would I
you?
want to drink
It's the last question I have, so.
Yeah.
Oh, then maybe we can ask questions, Jer.
Uh-oh, it's your best
All right, I
shot.
want to be presumptuous. So let's say, what's your third favorite brewery that you've done this with?
Third favorite brewery. Artisanal Brew Works up in Saratoga. Oi! All right.
It's that time. I brought a good beer.
Were you getting thirsty?
It's good beer. You want to drink it?
Hey! Wow!
So I get two?
You get both shots again,
Your
yeah.
turn again.
This game has turned quite compelling. Hey! All right, now it's a one-cup game. Who else has a question for me? I like this.
Did we find out who would drink him?
Yeah, not really. I don't. Plus, his wife is here. I mean,
Well, maybe the answer is my wife. It's not.
could be.
I'm just going to switch up straight to announcer mode. Doug takes the second shot. He misses. First shot is good. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, that was our first.
Cheers.
That was our first attempt at the BGL, pitting brewer against brewer. Thank you guys so much. This was fantastic. Now, as is tradition, Jeremy, you can bestow.
Oh, I'm going to drink this.
Okay, well then I'm just going to dump this right in here. Here at Flounder Brewing, if you find yourself in the Hillsborough area and have not already checked out the Flounder Brewing Company, there must be something wrong with you, because there sure as hell ain't nothing wrong with them. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very much.
Prost, everybody.
See you on the next one. Prost!
In Hops We Trust. Want another beer? Check out our channel, In Hops We Trust Film. There you'll get all our latest content, including new episodes, tastings, and all things In Hops related. Cheers! In Hops We Trust is an Ambassador Studios production.